Sometimes as creators, you can get into a bubble.
Trying to grasp the idea of like 60 videos in a week is crazy.
He looks over to me in horror. I just formatted my card.
Oh no.
The hardest thing for creatives is that we want to do everything. They don't do strategic tests.
I don't think anyone's ever explained it to me that way. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Creators Uncut. Super excited for another episode. Like always, we've got a great guest for you. Our guest today is Trevor Brock, and he's from the YouTube channel Ramsey Solutions. Trevor, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, good to see you, man.
Yeah, love meeting new people and hearing their stories. So for our viewers who may not know who you are and kind of what you do, and also Ramsey Solutions, if they haven't heard of that channel, why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself and kind of what you do?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So we're actually a full-blown network. So Ramsey is like a variety of channels. So if you actually go to Ramsey Solutions on YouTube, you probably won't find a channel, but if you go and find Ramsey Highlights channel or the Ramsey Show Highlights, Ramsey Show Full Episode channel, you'll see that. And some people might be familiar with Dave Ramsey. That's where we get the name
Yes,
from. But
very famous.
started many years ago as a radio show for finances, people calling in for crazy situations. And that turned into a book, which blew up. And then all that content blew up into a full-on network. That show went online to YouTube about 12 years ago now. And
Wow.
they're like, hey, let's try this out. And whenever they did, it took off. And that went off to now we have over like 8 separate channels.
Oh,
They're
wow.
full-blown shows. And it's cool. A lot of what I do, I help consult on those channels, subs ranging from anywhere from like some new shows we launched have like 20,000 subs like this year to some over in several million. So I help kind of run the strategy for all those, and it's a cool deal being in a network because sometimes as creators you can get into a bubble. I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you where you've got your lane, you've got your content, and you just like that's your world. And sometimes you can get really caged in. So it's a good palate cleanser because sometimes you'll go into a meeting and you'll be talking about relationships on the John Deloney show, and this married couple's going through some crazy stuff, or this dating couple's going through some crazy stuff, and you'll leave that like talking about divorce to hey, how do you balance your finances? How do you do a budget? And it's such like a huge like separate thing. But doing that, I feel it keeps me fresh. It keeps me sharp. So I pretty much offer consulting and strategy for uh, the whole gambit, personal
Gotcha.
development, business content, all that kind of stuff. And that's my world on a day-to-day basis. Um, it's crazy to kind of maybe give you a scope of the amount of content we make at the network. Just on the shows I oversee directly, which are about 5, we put out 60 videos a week.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's from full episodes, highlights, all these shorts. And so that's 60 titles, man.
Oh my goodness.
It's like 60 titles. And I did the math. I was like, okay, 60 titles a week, 52 weeks in a year. That's about 3,000 titles a year. And
Oh
I've been
my
doing this for like
gosh.
I've been doing this for almost like 6 years. And I was like, that's like 18,000 titles or something stupid. It's like ridiculous. And uh it's been a crazy ride, but I've learned a lot.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, so I'm a video editor on my day-to-day job, and I edit around like 20 to 30 videos a month. And so like just trying to grasp the idea of like 60 videos in a week is crazy.
Yes, it's
So
ridiculous.
yeah. And I just want to clarify. So Ramsey Solutions is like a network or like the parent company, and then there's a bunch of different channels
Mm,
underneath that, and they're
yeah.
not all finance related? Because I know Dave
No,
Ramsey is
man.
like a finance guy, but they're not all finance related?
No, so we've got a variety. So we've had
Okay.
career shows we've done in the past where we've helped people who are interested um, in starting a business. We've like taught people how to start that up because Dave, he built
Mm.
his business from a card table in his living room, and
Mm.
he now has over 1,000 employees, buildings that are like millions upon millions of dollars, like this whole infrastructure that he's built. So he teaches like business principles. We teach relationship principles because the funny thing is, we'll get calls on the Ramsey show, and money problems always are connected to so many other problems. And relationships is
Mm.
part of that, like spouses hiding accounts, secret accounts from their other spouse, and like all this crazy that like financial infidelity is what we call it. And
Mhm.
over time, Dave would get these crazy, more relational calls. Like he was giving relationship advice. So
Mm.
about 5 years ago, we brought on a guy named John Deloney, and he is a crisis therapist. He's dealt with people in crazy relational situations for years, and he came on the show, and that blew up. Those segments, people are calling in like, "Hey, my husband told me yesterday he doesn't love me anymore. He wants to get a divorce." And then we said, "Hey, let's just give you your own show, see how that does." And that thing over the past 5 years has grown to over 1 million subs, and it cranks
Wow.
out 3 full episodes a week, 9 highlights a week. We do 14 shorts a week on that channel. It's just nuts. So
Yeah.
you get a little taste. Smart Money Happy Hour. If you've never heard that channel, you can go check it out. If you're watching this, you want to go check it out. It's like more pop culture and money, and
Mm.
it's George Camel and Rachel Cruz. They're on there, and they're hilarious. So yeah, you get across the network a good spread of stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thanks for clarifying that. Because I just
Yeah,
kinda assumed they were all finance related, but that makes total sense, you know, the, like, relationship thing, and
yeah, yeah,
so that's interesting. So just a little bit more about you, if you don't mind me asking. How did you,
yeah.
get into the YouTube industry, or, like, how did you know, start working with Ramsey Solutions?
Absolutely. And hopefully, my story gives anybody who thinks that you're not qualified or you think, man, there's just too much to learn or know. If that's you, I'll give you encouragement because that was me. Um, I started mine like 6 years ago, and I've always been in video since I was like early 20s. Um, I've done everything from covering events to I did stuff for nonprofits. I was in the church world for quite a while, and I would record just these videos to hold people's attention anywhere from like a minute to like 10, which is like extremely hard. I
Yeah.
did wedding videography for a time, so God bless anybody who's ever done wedding videography. Funny story with that, a buddy of mine, we were recording a wedding, and we recorded everything that day, everything. And then like
Mhm.
the bride just came down the aisle, and he was supposed to get that shot. I'm on the groom. His job is the bride. And midway through the ceremony, he looks over to me in horror, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what's happened?" He comes over to me after the fact. He's like, "I just formatted my card and lost
Oh,
all
no.
the footage for the entire day." And I was like, "You are
Oh.
you are kidding me right now." And
Oh my
so all we
gosh.
had to go off, yeah, I know, all we had to go off was my stuff, and he got the kiss, thank God. And so whatever. Anyway, God bless anyone who's dealing with wedding stuff because it's high stakes, my friend.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
uh, I did all that video stuff, and then one day my uncle, he reaches out to me. He lives in Tennessee. That's where I'm at right now at Ramsey. He said,
Mhm.
"Hey, don't know if you've heard of Ramsey Solutions, but they got this opening, and I think you'd be great for it." And uh, he found it on their site or from a neighborhood friend, and um, so you should apply. So I did. I tossed my hat in there. It was for a YouTube strategist, and I was like, "I do video. I'll try." And they thank God they liked me, and they gave me a chance. And dude, the day one, I jumped in and I started consuming everything: books, blogs, videos, talking about YouTube, and getting my education, man. And there was some stuff, probably two things primarily I learned that I reference to this day that were game changing stuff, that I reference all the time, and we can get into that if you want to. But it's like two primary things I always go back to that guide me on YouTube and kind of direct what I learn. And apart from all the books and everything, I was privileged enough to have as my leader at the time the guy who took the show and the whole network online. He convinced the team to be on YouTube, which was hard because it wasn't like this big thing at first. People were like, "What the heck is that?" And
Mhm.
he said, "No, it's gonna be a thing." And he took it online, and I learned everything from him. And so
Gotcha.
that was a huge, huge blessing. But yeah, that's how I got my start.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think, let's just dive right into it. What are those, 2 things that, you always reference when it comes to YouTube? I'm curious since you mentioned it.
Yeah, yeah. So the first thing, because the big question you have to ask yourself is, what can I control? What are the things that I, as a creator, can control? Because there's so much that we can't
Mhm.
on the platform. One day you'll be up, next day down. It's like the stock market, and you can drive yourself crazy. And so the first thing I learned was these three controls that you have, which everybody will probably be familiar with. But there's as I list them, there's like baselines that you have to try to hit because everybody's like, "What's a good baseline for click through rate?" That's the first one. What does that look
Mhm.
like? Well, based on lots of research and how many impressions people get on average, around 3 to 5%. You're in a good, healthy range if you're hitting 3 to 5%. And especially if you're in the education space. Now, entertainment people, you could be hovering more around like 8 to 10. But if you're an educator and you're getting a good amount of impressions, if you're hitting 3 to 5, like, good on you. Like, based on the data that we're seeing, that's pretty darn good. And how do you control that? It's the stuff we talk about all the time, which is packaging. So that's your
Mhm.
title, your thumbnail, your intro. And the second piece that we're going to talk about, that helps you learn what that's going to look like. But that's the first thing that we can control. I can't control the seasonality of things. I can't control what's hot and what's not. I can only control how I'm packaging stuff, which affects my click through rate. The next thing is your average view duration. The standard, now it's getting longer. So this is
Mhm.
actually expanded. But at the time, videos that were like 7 to 16 minutes, those were like really the standard of YouTube. People are like, oh, their attention spans are so small. And we didn't see the day where like 3 hour podcasts were going to be the norm, right?
Yeah.
But for those stats, it's like, okay, what's a good completion rate for a 7 to 16 minute video? Um, Top dogs on YouTube, they're getting like 50 to 80%.
Wow.
50 to 80% completion rate. So that's the standard we hold ourselves to is, man, am I hitting at least 50 on a piece of
Mhm.
content that's 7 to 16 minutes long? And if we're not, then there's something wrong. We got to fix that because that's all your scripting. That's how well do you hook a viewer. That's how well do you keep them engaged. And every like after before you introduce a new point, have you hooked them on that point, right? Before you
Mhm.
close out an old point, did you hook them into the new one you're about to open? So that's the stuff we wrestle with all the time. Um, Ironically, now for longer videos, like an hour or more, if you're getting 25 to 30% completion rate or 25 to 35, that's pretty good too. So for podcasters like yourself, that's what I'm looking at.
Gotcha.
Then finally, the last thing, and this is something that really you clarify whenever you are about to walk through the next thing that we're about to walk through, and that is your returning versus new viewers. Those are the stats we try to control. And that comes from consistency and not consistency like what you'll probably hear on YouTube, like, just keep posting content, man. If you just keep posting content, people will come. No, it's like, you know who your people are
Mhm.
and you know why they're coming to you. You know the goal of your channel. You have all those things aligned. And when you do that, you can start having this good ratio, which is 50%. This is a unicorn channel. If you ever find one that hits this, good on you. But you're really trying to hit 50-50. 50 new, 50 returning. If you're too heavy on returning, like say you got 80% people that are your core base, and that's the majority, that's all of your audience, you're going to run into a problem because you'll never be able to grow that way. You just got
Mhm.
that core base coming to you, but you got no new. Likewise, if 80% is new people, but then the rest is all you're returning, you're not going to, you got a leaky bucket, is what we call it.
Mhm.
You got your top, you're bringing people in, but they just don't hang out. So those are the three
Gotcha.
things that you can really control through your scripting, your packaging, and through being consistent through your content.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. we just dove right into it, but, I hope our viewers listen to that. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
our ideal audience is people who wanna start a YouTube channel or who are currently YouTubers, so, you know, I think those are good metrics, like, I mean, you're an expert in it, so those are good metrics to look at with your channel. So I'm curious, you know, I just had a question come to mind as you were kinda talking about that. What is your opinion on, like, shorts? I've heard a
Hmm.
lot of different things about how, like, shorts viewers don't view long form and kinda vice
Hmm.
versa, but shorts bring in a lot of new subscribers, and I'm pretty sure YouTube Analytics, like, just lumps it all together, like
Hmm.
long form and short form,
Hmm.
like, in terms of, like, new and returning subscribers. I could be or viewers, I mean. I could be wrong on
Yeah.
that, but what is your opinion on shorts and, bringing people to your channel kind of a thing?
Man, shorts are a blessing or a curse, man. They really are. They
Yeah,
can be a blessing to your channel, or they can just destroy it completely. And I've seen some people do it that way, and I'll tell you how they do it as well, so that you can avoid that. But to answer your question of what's my opinion on them, I think if played correctly, they can be massive, and benefit your channel greatly.
okay.
I'll tell you kind of how we gradually dipped our toe into that water. We started out slow. We just dabbled in a couple of shorts here or there, see how they did, and we wanted to see if people would convert, because that's the fear, right? Oh, they're just going to
Mhm.
stay in the shorts feed and never come to my long form. And so what we evaluated constantly was, hey, here's our exposure, because nowadays it's super clean. You can actually go into your analytics and divvy it out between content type,
Okay, okay.
and you can see those lines separately. So it does clean the data for you in that way. You can see views from shorts, views on long form. And in that window, what we started to see was, if you're consistent as far as the value you're giving, hey, the long form content, what I'm giving them there is reflected exactly in my short form content. Meaning for Deloney, we just did like the call, clips from the call that we would, because we would have 3 calls inside of a full episode, and we would just take the best moments of that call, post it up. When you do that, when your shorts content reflects very accurately your long form content, you'll see what I'm about to say that we saw, which is we would see a huge spike in viewership. And about 30 days later, we would have this carryover. You would see these 2 lines going up, shorts would go up, long form would stay. But 30 days later, the long form would start to creep up. And that's your
Mm,
conversion rate. They had at one time this metric inside of YouTube Studio, still there, but it says how much of your audience watches both shorts and long form. And you can see right there, ours went anywhere from like 10% to 18% watch both. And
wow.
that's what we called our conversion rate. And tried and true, man. Anytime we saw a bump in shorts, 30 days to 90 days later, we'd see a bump in our long form. Why is that
Mm,
happening? Because what happens is, if they're in the shorts feed and they saw a Deloney short, they liked it, they watched it, the algorithm will go, huh, okay, well, I'm going to start feeding you the long form. And without ever going to our main channel or seeing a piece of long form, you'll see a thumbnail for a full episode. You'll see a
mm,
thumbnail for, and whenever you're searching stuff or on your suggested. So that's what we would see is, people would see a short, then we'll start popping up on their homepage, and they'll go, huh, it may not be day one, but we'll keep popping up there, and they're like, "All right, fine, I'll try a full episode, or I'll try a highlight." Right?
Yeah.
Shorts to me are like going on a date. You're trying to win them over, right? You're trying to get
Yeah.
them like, "Hey, here's a sample," or if you have a Costco where you are or something like that, shorts are free samples. They're the person with the thing on the toothpick going, "Hey, here you go." And if you can't win them on a short, it's going to be really hard to win them on a long form piece of content.
Mhm.
So the way that people shoot themselves in the foot is because their shorts are so much different than their long form content. It's
Mm,
separate. It's almost like you're creating a separate channel on your channel. And that's really what's, because your main channel should help people solve some specific problems if you're an educator, or if you're just a entertainment YouTuber. Like if
mhm,
you're rocking it and you're known as the man on the street guy that asks people random questions, but then on your shorts feed, you don't have any of that, then you're going to separate on one channel 2 different audiences. So that's where I see people their video page. If you go to it, it looks more like a buffet line. You'll have shrimp, you'll have steak, you'll have spaghetti.
Mhm.
Versus I come to your page and like, oh, this is like a nice Italian restaurant. It's all in the scope, right? I'm gonna like it all.
Mhm.
Um, so that's how I would caution people is, hey, make sure the shorts match your long form, and you should start to see that conversion over time.
Gotcha. I really like that. I don't think anyone's ever explained it to me that way. At least the point that like, they won't necessarily while they're scrolling shorts go straight to your channel, but eventually they'll be fed the long form on like the homepage of YouTube. That
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense, and that's never been explained to me like that. So I really like that. Thanks for sharing
Nice,
that.
man. Yeah, absolutely. That's how we've experienced it. And now a huge upset has actually happened on the shorts feed. I think a lot of people have noticed over the past year, but like so much of the real estate on YouTube has changed. Like if you look at the YouTube homepage today and you see, I think a lot of people have been complaining about it,
Mhm.
but you went from in 2010 having like 15 different long form options. And now if you go on the homepage today, you have like two, and sometimes one of them's an ad. It's like, what in
Yeah.
the world? It's so we've seen our real estate cut in half by like or by 80%, and that could be a challenge for a lot of people. So shorts can also help you. That short shelf right there is being featured more and more prominently. So I would say if you have
Mhm.
a good short strategy, thumbnails on shorts, man, it's a little bit more labor intensive. But if y'all can do thumbnails on shorts right now, man, that's I don't see a lot of people doing it, but whenever they do, they get huge results. So I would
Mm.
say because in the past it didn't matter; they would never pop up on the homepage.
Right,
But
yeah.
now those flipping thumbnails on a short are almost bigger than the long form. They're
Yeah,
huge, and
yeah,
so to not have a short thumbnail nowadays is kind of like not having a thumbnail on your long form episode. It's a little bit, yeah.
yeah,
I wish they would make it easier to put them on there.
yeah, seriously, allow us to do it on desktop, please, not just on the
Yes,
phone.
dear God.
I don't know why they don't do that. Anyways, but I've experienced that firsthand, I've had a client, uh, actually had a drop in their long form views when they made that change on the homepage because the client didn't necessarily focus on shorts. They were
Mm,
primarily long form, and
yeah,
because they added that short shelf, like you said, it kinda hurt their views a little bit, but we could talk about shorts all day long. I don't wanna stray too much from,
it's all good, man.
the outline we have planned, but, it was really interesting to talk about that. So
Yeah.
moving on, would you say, like, your official title is, like, a content strategist or, like, a
Mm.
YouTube consultant kind of thing?
Yeah, content strategist. That is
Okay,
the name because it's broad. We do primarily so much on YouTube because it's so big, but we do for podcasts and Spotify and Apple and all that stuff. So
okay.
they've opened us up now to content strategy. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I've never actually worked with a content strategist, but I kinda have an idea of what they
Hmm.
do. But for our viewers who may not know what a content strategist is, or if we
Yeah.
have any listeners who have a YouTube channel who are thinking about getting a content strategist, what
Hmm.
specifically do you do? Like, what do you, bring to the table, I guess?
Yeah. Fair question. Fair question. For me, I think if you poke a lot of people for that question, you'll get a lot of different answers probably. But
Mhm.
in my 6 years, where I see the most value, where I get the people looking at me going like, "Oh man, that was really helpful," or "That was really good," is primarily in three different areas. And that first one is knowing your audience, because what you're doing is you're just studying human behavior.
Mhm.
That's probably the biggest thing I do in my job is I find out the people that you're trying to reach and clarifying that with you, because sometimes the hardest thing for creatives is that we want to do everything.
Yeah.
we want to be we want to dabble in everything and try all the stuff, and I don't want to squash anyone's creativity, but you kind of need someone like a health coach or like a personal trainer, that on the days you really want to try all the sweets or like just binge out, you need somebody just to be like "Tsh," and be like, no, this is our thing. This is what we do.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's a coach. That's really what I see myself as a coach
Mhm.
in that respect of, hey, I learn the mind of our viewer, what their problems, where they are, what kind of content they're watching, what kind of spaces they're living in, and I bring that to all of our meetings. And you really should have three people on your mind when you're making content all the time. And this is the everybody in content meeting as they're spitting out ideas or whatever. This is what I raise up all the time: is, hey, we need to think of these three people. You need to think of the novice, you need to think of the learner, and the expert. The novice, someone who has no clue about what you're doing, or they're like vaguely interested. You need to have
Mhm.
someone who's a learner. They're getting their feet wet. They've read a couple of books. They did whatever in your space, your thing. And then the expert. They could probably make a video themselves. The expert person. What kind of problems do they have? And you want to have a content strategy that appeals to those kinds of people. Because if you just make one just for the expert, these really niche problems, you can kind of niche yourself to death. And you don't want to
Mhm.
do that. But at the same time, you don't want to make everything just for the white space, whatever people, because if you're a business, you're probably not going to get too many buyers from that.
Mhm.
So you got to try to have this good, delicate balance of appealing to all in your content, of a specific group of people, not everyone, but at least those three people in your respective things. So that's the first wing, just knowing who are we going for, where do they live, where are they at as far as on the platform. Two, knowing the platform itself. Like you have to kind of understand and watch a lot of YouTube, to kind of understand when things change, what patterns are showing themselves, what trends are happening, to know whether you should be a part of them or not.
Mhm.
And content creation can be such a job in itself of making it, scripting it, all that kind of stuff, that most people don't have the brain width or the bandwidth
Yeah.
to like devote to just being on here and knowing how it all works. And so a coach in that role, it's like it's taking that responsibility and weight off your shoulders to just being on it so long to notice these small little nuance opportunities that you may not notice. And so that's my job, is just to know the platform itself, plus just all the changes YouTube makes as a business. Like, hey,
Yeah.
do shorts help or hurt? Well, you may not have time to look at like thousands and thousands of data points on shorts to know certain things about it, but I do.
Mhm.
I've got that time. It's my job. And so, or hey, in YouTube Studio, they came out and announced these 5 new updates. Hey, which ones are worth your time? Which are not? Well, that's what the content strategist does. They look into it. They run tests and focus tests. And I think that's something that creators don't do often enough, is they don't do strategic tests. They don't make a video with the intent of, I'm going to tweak this one thing. I'm going to use this metric to know if it moved the needle or not, and I will review it later. Because they're so in the churn of getting things going. So that's a huge part of my job, knowing the platform, knowing the trends, knowing the changes, setting those tests. And then finally, just knowing the goal. Like, what's your goal as a creator? What's your goal as a business? Not just like, I want to make money, not just, I want to try and um, reach a bunch of people, but what kind of transformation are you hoping to have happen in someone's life because they watched your stuff? What are you wanting them to feel? How are you wanting to represent yourself? Because if it's just money or just views you chase, then you might do some things that compromise your values at some point. You might do something in the hopes of getting more eyeballs, that you begin to be associated with stuff you don't want to be associated with, because that is what the platform does. You may have a short that takes off, but it's not the thing you wanted to take off. It didn't carry the message you wanted to, but too bad, because now the algorithm associates you with that thing.
Mhm.
And so that's primarily what I feel like I do, is come along people to know the audience well, know what's happening on the platform, and keeping the content aligned, like crucially to what goals you're trying to accomplish, what transformation you're trying to have happen in people's lives.
Gotcha. Okay, that is very helpful. I think that will help people decide when they get a content strategist. And, after listening to you kind of explain what you do, even though I'm a video editor, I would maybe suggest that if you're starting a YouTube channel, the first person you should get help with is a content strategist. um,
Yeah,
I don't think most creatives do it that way. I think a lot of creatives are more one man band, and then once they get big enough, then they like. I think an editor or a thumbnail designer is probably the first one that they go for.
sure.
Um, but I think in terms of helpfulness, I bet a content strategist is probably what most creatives should, I guess, focus on. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have any similar thoughts on that.
No, if I looked at someone just starting out, and I don't want to jump to anything else you want to do too soon, but how should you prioritize your time? If I'm a
Mhm.
creator and I'm trying to know how much thought should I give to strategy, how much thought should I give to just my day-to-day tasks, starting out, you're going to probably over index on one of those. And like, how much of my time can I get back? I think it just depends. Well, what do you enjoy? If you love the editing process and it doesn't take a ton of your time, well, okay, go ahead and maybe outsource the other stuff. There's
Mhm.
still people I talk to, creators who have millions of subs. They still edit their videos, man.
Yeah.
Like they still do it because that's their baby, and they
Mhm.
either can't train people how to do it the way they want, or they just don't want to let go of it, and so that's just what they keep around. So to me, it's just like, what's the gorilla in your mind? Some people's like, I don't want to look at the platform. I don't want to spend more time in analytics and reading data. It's like, okay, well, maybe you should outsource that. So that's my thing is, what thing does it make you, it's a drain on your energy the most? And I'd probably start there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I 100% agree, and I also to add on to that, it kinda depends on, like, what your goal of your channel is.
yeah,
Like, if you're just doing it for funsies, then, like, you know,
no,
it doesn't really matter, but if you're wanting to grow and, like, make it a business, at some point, you're gonna have to outsource, and so, like you said, I completely agree, like, whatever is the most draining, you should outsource that.
especially for business owners, because then at the end of the day, they got to run their business on top of it. So,
Yeah.
man,
So moving on, I want to ask you a couple more questions, I guess maybe about your experience with YouTube. The first one is going to be about, working with Ramsey Solutions, and kind of like what the best video or project you worked on, and why you think it ended up being the best one. Maybe there's some insights there, or maybe, I've talked to creators and they just feel like they got lucky with the
oh
algorithm or
man,
whatever. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on like what you think is the best project you've worked on and why you think it was the best.
I can probably say the one I'm most proud of. Um, because best, if you're going by best, like which one got you the most views or something like that, those are the moments where you're just kind of like, I guess the algorithm liked that. But my proudest one is whenever you make a call on something and you know it's gonna hit, and it does. That's when you're like, ah, dang, that
Yeah.
was good. And so there's one particular, was doing strategy for a interview based show that we had called Front Row Seat, and we had a I've been just doing what you're supposed to do as a strategist, just looking at the platform, watching stuff. Um, there's a methodology that I use in researching. We can get to that if you want to at some point, but just doing that. And I ran across this guy. His name was Dwayne Noel, and he was a Dry Creek Wrangler is the name of his channel, Dry Creek Wrangler School. And he's just a cowboy, man. He's a bona fide cowboy, and our channel Front Row Seat was about personal development, personal growth. You're drawing people in, like business owners and people who want to like challenge themselves and like, oh, I'm gonna go out there and get it. And I was like, man, Dwayne's got this vibe. Like I think he'd be so fascinating, and he's an anomaly. You go to his channel, and it's just him. He's got a big old beard, a cowboy hat. He's smoking a cigar in a shed, and he's talking to you on like a, I don't know, I don't know, like a Nikon camera or something. It's like so grainy, so bad. But these views had like hundreds of thousands of views on these videos. I'm like, oh my gosh. And the cool thing is, he hadn't been interviewed yet by anybody. I looked at all these main shows and that kind of stuff. If you're in an interview or podcast space like this, it's hard because some of it is first to market. Like if you can land an interview with the person for the first time that you know is good for your audience, you have no competition. It's like that whole blue ocean concept.
Mhm.
If you're familiar with that, like that's what I saw there. And so I was like, I told our team for about a year, I was like, we've got to get Dwayne. We got to get Dwayne. We got to get this cowboy on. And they're like, yeah, 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 yeah. And so finally, like I call Dwayne and I get him, and he is like riding somewhere in the backwoods. Somehow I get his personal phone number. I'm like,
Mhm.
Dwayne? He's like, yeah. Hi. Do you want to come on our show? And he's like, yeah. So he comes on, he does the interview, and the title of it was Real Cowboy, What It Takes to Be a Man in Today's Society.
Mhm.
Like that was the title. I was like, oh man, like it's so in your face. And so we put it out, and it becomes like one of the top performers of the channel, which for at the time we were a baby channel, so we were getting like
Mhm.
20K, something like that. We got like 400,000 views on this thing.
Wow.
And I was like, that's where you're just like, let's go. And it's like, this is awesome. Um, but that's, and I got to meet a cowboy. So I got to go on set and actually like get a picture with him. And um, it's this guy who can't grow any facial hair at all next to like this guy with a giant beard. It's awesome. Um,
Yeah.
so I was super happy to have that finally go out. And because I think it wasn't a guess. It was like, hey, I know this is going to work because of what I saw. And so seeing it actually hit is great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. It's always cool to hear, I guess, well, I don't know what the word is, like satisfactory projects come to life.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So my next question is also kind of about your experience with YouTube. And maybe you've already mentioned it. I'm not sure because you've had a lot of good insights this episode so far. But is there any common advice that you hear on YouTube that you disagree with every day? And I don't know if it's just because our podcast is about talking to creators, but I feel like every day I hear advice about YouTube, how to grow on the platform, how to beat the algorithm, yada, yada, yada. But as someone like you who is a content strategist, I feel like you're an expert on this. Is there any advice that you disagree with that is like a misconception out there?
I don't think it's a direct advice like do put more tags or special tags or whatever in your thing.
Mhm.
But I think it's what you just described. It's more of the misconception or that feeling that you had personally just then. Like you go on the platform and you see all of these things. You see the typical video of a person going like, I did XYZ, but then one day I did this. And then you see that graph go up, right?
Mhm.
You're like, oh, people were sucking, and then they did this one thing, and and you hear that over and over, and I get what these guys are doing because they're like me, they're strategists or they're YouTubers trying to get views or get people's attention. I get the game,
Mhm.
but what it creates is this feeling that there's like a holy grail out there somewhere, that there is this magic bullet that if you just do it, it's going to make your YouTube journey so easy. It's going to be like, oh, thank goodness. Like once that hits, I'm going to be sailing. And I can just tell you, it will never happen. That is, there is no silver bullet. I'll even use this as a case scenario. We got to shorts and we were first to market on shorts, man.
Mhm.
We went to conferences and heard like whispers, hey, you should try shorts, whatever. And dude, we saw the benefit. We like went up into the right because the algorithm wanted shorts, and we had the infrastructure just to make them, to just crank them out like they were like Krispy Kreme donuts. It was ridiculous. But dude, can I tell you that that gravy train stops flowing, and it's like once you're there, it's like crap. What's the next thing, and what's the next thing? So the thing I don't like is this feeling because it's a gamified system. You know, you got that 1 of 10 ranking, you've got the confetti
Mhm,
that goes off, whatever, whenever you do something good. It's like the slot machine. It
mhm.
creates people constantly anxious and frustrated at themselves because you think, man, if I'm doing something wrong, because if I wasn't, this would be so much easier. And it would be so I would be getting 1 of 10s every day. And I just want to tell whoever's watching this and you, like, that's just that feeling will never go away. Now, there's some stuff you can do to make the creation process smoother, to get the right result that you want. But if you're just chasing this rabbit of other people have it figured out and I don't, this is me speaking from like a building that has this is people's full time jobs, and we put out so much content. It just I wish I could just take that away from people's minds of like that pressure of just you just don't have it figured out yet. So um,
Yeah. Yeah, I think people there's the advice out there that, like, you just need to keep posting and eventually you'll get better, which I think there is some truth to that. People do tend to get better at a craft that they put time and effort into, but I think the hardest part is, like, the analytics, like, people get discouraged. Like you said, like, it's a gamified system, and so I guess if I were to give advice to add on to this is like it's impossible to get a 1 out of 10 every video.
yeah,
So don't even like stress about that?
absolutely. And you'll gas out. And there's something because I work with people in Ramsey outside and with consulting, and the thing that I hear a lot is it can just be exhausting. How do you keep up? And there's a way that I have to separate in my brain with like how you balance stuff so that it doesn't become overwhelming, but you stay like on pace with your learning.
Mhm.
And I have to separate it as like your habits versus skills. If you had like a pie chart of the amount of time you spend on things, like half of it should be devoted to some specific habits, and then like the other half should be devoted towards a specific set of skills. The habit side, there's three things on that pie chart. One is just research. The habit side, how often should you do your habits? If this is your full-time thing, this is your business, this should be like 1 hour every day should be devoted to this one of these habits. If you're like a solo person and this is just a part-time thing for you, probably one day out of your week, maybe an hour, just 1 or 2 if you can, should be devoted to these habits. And so the first one is research. You should have like a list of 10 people. Everyone should have a list of 10 channels that they're looking at that are like, these are people in my space that do what I do. They're
Mhm.
rocking it and I think they're doing great. And that hour, you should just focus on a specific thing. Because I don't know if this has happened to you, but sometimes you'll go on the platform to research and you'll be lost down a tunnel of just nonsense. Or
The rabbit
you'll
hole.
be researching, yeah, you'll be researching a channel, but then you're just binging content for no reason. So before
Yeah.
you have come on, man. I know it's that's what that because that's what the platform's designed to do.
Yeah.
But for your research time, write down on a piece of paper, this is why I'm going to these people right now. I'm looking at the way they do their title, their opening, their how they rehook you in the halfway point, how they close. Just take notes of that for about an hour. Look at those 10 people, see the patterns. Just make a list. The other thing is ideation. Everybody should have an hour a day or at least 1 to 2 hours a week they devote to just ideation. Because the thing that burns people out is they're going to sit down to do their next video. And it's in that moment with nothing in the tank, they try to make something. They try to
Mhm.
like, oh, I got to think through the lesson and the study or the whatevers, and it's like there's nothing there. Like you're trying to make a cake without ingredients right now. And so with this hour a day, that's when you start to ideate Because if you do your research, the 10 people, and even people outside your space, and you start to have things to work with and you sit down for your ideas, just make a list. Start writing down just a title or something squishy, even if you have to, like a sentence or whatever, and log it. Heck, put it in an Excel, a Notion template, the notes on your phone or something.
Mhm.
And then later on in your week, when you go to actually start making the content, you don't have to start with a blank piece of paper. You have like a bank that you can objectively look at and go, huh, that's good, that's bad, that's great. Like
Yeah.
that's what our content meetings here look like. Our content meetings here, the reason we can put out 60 pieces of content a week is because every time we sit down in a content meeting is we pull up this, we call it, we have Airtable,
Mhm.
and we pull up Airtable, and there's like 50 ideas to choose from, and you'll have some stinkers in there. I've posted some that are just
Yeah.
terrible ideas. We shouldn't do them, and we'll go, okay, great idea. And then the content meeting should be you developing an idea, not coming up with an idea, but massaging it, developing it, and making it clear. Um, so that's habit 1 and 2: research, ideate, and then review. And this one right here, I think this is where we can save some people some heartache, because I don't know if you've ever done this. You'll upload a video. How many times do you check that video in a day?
A lot.
A crap ton, a
Yeah.
crap ton, and it hijacks all the productivity of your day, because you're
Mhm.
like, oh, I wonder if someone liked it. I wonder if somebody commented on it. I wonder if it's got any more views or whatever. You can't do that. You can't do
Yeah.
that as a business owner. You can't do that as a creator, because you'll just crash. So set time, that 1 hour a day, 30 minutes a day, whatever. That's the time you look at that episode. That's the time you look at your analytics. That's the time you look at the performance. And because it's at that time, once it's done, close YouTube Studio. Like, be done with it. Like, go make your thing. Spend it on actually making the craft, to getting better. And so that's that whole half of the pie chart, is develop those habits. And as far as the right side, which is what you were telling me earlier, which was getting better. Every project, every video is whenever you're working on a specific skill, because there's too many skills to master, right? There's like,
Mhm.
you have to be good at titles, thumbnails. You have to be good at hooking people in the first 7 seconds. You have to be good at doing calls to action at the end. You have to be sponsorship mentions, all this stuff. Don't try to get good at all the skills on every single video. Like, every video, pick one.
Mhm.
Like, pick one skill to get good at. And so, say you're doing your next one, say, cool, this time I'm just going to stop doing that awkward thing with my hands, when I'm on camera, where I don't know what I'm doing with them, right? So like
Yeah.
that, just work on that. And so then when you go to your review time that you have set aside, that's what you're looking at. Hey, that video, I was testing this one thing. So I'm not going to get all beat up about the click-through rate right now, because
Mhm.
that's not what this was about. This is about just me getting better at delivery. Okay, cool. All right, next time, I was really wanting this thumbnail to hit. Okay, well, it didn't. Well, let's ideate, and now you got A/B thumbnails, man. Now you can do deeper tests if you want to. But that, to me, thinking of it that way, it keeps me from getting so exhausted and feeling like I don't have time. We all have time. We just have to bucket it. And so that's the way I have to approach it.
Gosh, no, that totally makes sense. Those are some things that I myself could, work on too, um, like with our own content creation and business and that kinda stuff, so thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Trevor, this has been a great episode. Uh, not gonna lie, it's been one of my favorites. Don't tell
Oh,
any of the
dang,
other
man.
creators.
Oh,
Um,
dude, thanks.
but I feel like I don't know if it's just because, like, you've brought new ideas, to the table that I haven't thought about before, or because you're a content strategist, so this is what you do for a living, but I feel like the insights have been really, really good. Um, I do have one more question for you, and this is kind of one that we ask every guest that we have on our show.
Yeah.
And it might be a little bit different because you work as a team, and it's like a network of shows. But has there been a mistake that you've made that you've learned from? Like maybe something you did that you wish you hadn't of, um, or kind of anything along those lines. I feel like for our viewers, it could be helpful to learn from others' mistakes. So,
Getting deep at the end, man. This is great. I think one mistake I made early on, and it's because I felt really insecure, honestly. Because like I told you early on, me coming into YouTube, I didn't know. I didn't know stuff.
Mhm.
And so I felt that, especially coming into a big thing like this that's been around for so long. I felt the need to be impressive. I felt the need to act like I had my stuff together and I knew things. And man, it just set me up for a lot of embarrassing moments. So many embarrassing moments where I should have just said, "I don't know." Uh,
Yeah.
like I don't have the answer. I wish I could go back to that guy 5 years ago and just shake him and say, "Hey, say you don't know, but that you can go find out." And I wish I do that more now. If I'm ever in a meeting, like Trevor, you're the guy. You're supposed to know. Like that's what I think all the time in my head is like this is my job and I don't know. Um, I learned quickly that nobody in that room expected me to have all the answers. Like nobody in that was an internal pressure that I put on myself. And so I just if I could give that to somebody out there, maybe someone else is an achiever or striver like I am, and we want to do the thing right. I I would just tell them no one's expecting you to know everything. In fact, they know you don't. And so just say it. Just be like, man, I don't know, but I'm going to look into that for you. I'll find some answers and we'll figure it out together. Um, I would have adopted that kind of a spirit way early on.
Yeah. Yeah. I uh I like that. I think a lot of creators feel that pressure of, and maybe that goes into like the creating the videos, but the creators feel the pressure to like have all their stuff put together, perfect video right from the get-go. And it's okay, like you said, to say I don't know. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Well, Trevor, like I said, this has been a great episode. A lot of amazing insights. Really appreciate you having on the show and being willing to impart your thoughts and wisdom of YouTube.
No, man, Spencer, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, yeah, it's been great. If our viewers want to kind of check you out, where should they go?
You can check me out on LinkedIn. I got Trevor Brock right there. I have a website. It's ytmadesimple.com. You can check out some of a few resources I have right there. I have one course that's available. I had to close down the other one for now. But if there's interest around that, who knows? It might open back up again. But yeah, that's a place that you can look me up.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks again, Trevor, for being on the show. And thanks to our viewers and watchers for checking out this episode. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, where we talk to real people about YouTube. And just a little plug for ourselves, if you need help with creating videos, feel free to check us out at creatorlux.com, and we will see you in the next one.